Today I'm going to have a go at what I think is called German ring turning, or something like REIFENDREHEN, can never get that right. It's basically from the Ore Mountains in Germany, and the idea is that you take a section of wood. This is a slab straight through, probably beech. I don't know. And you turn a kind of donut with a profile. I believe it is suggested that they use wood like this, end grain, so that when you turn your donut, you can cut sections out of it along the grain, which means that the wood, the piece that you cut, is slightly stronger. Alright, just to try and find an approximate centre. Okay, so I've got a hole now all the way through. Got my faceplate. I've got this little template that I've made, which should fit the centre of the faceplate. That's the centre. So I can fix my screws. Well, that hasn't really worked out. The wood is too punky. It's actually quite pretty as well. It's a piece of it's quite spalted. I don't think this particular piece is going to be suitable. I don't think it's quite strong enough. So, all changed. Cut off a piece of ash and use that instead. So I'm using the new Record Power Saber 350, which is a wonderful machine. I've just cut this through. So quickly mount that on a faceplate and true it up, and then sort out a tenon. The diameter of the piece of ash is really too small, but it's what I've got to hand, and it's also very dry and seasoned, which apparently is not ideal. It really needs to be more green. Hey ho, onwards anyway. Okay, so the aim is to actually turn a little gingerbread man using this profile. I've just cut that out, a piece of paper. I've got to stick it onto a bit of 1/8 inch ply so I can actually create a section that will be cut into a slot in here, and I'm going to then better turn it to the pattern created by this section. That makes sense in a second. However, because this is a small piece of wood, I've just tried to turn a small tenon on here, and the tenon's too big, so I'm going to have to do a smaller tenon. Otherwise, when I try and get around the corner for this is all going to get horribly in the way. Right, I've actually decided to swap it and put a screw chuck in, and then I can turn it over either way on the screw chuck, and I'll have enough dimension here to be able to actually turn the piece in question. Otherwise, it ain't going to work out. Okay, so this is the little gingerbread man template just done on the scroll saw, and it is 4mm thick. So I've now just got to cut a slot in here so that this is a bit wider than it needs to be, because I've changed the chucking method, so that goes in there and is glued in place. I'll blacken the edges so I can see it, and then I turn this off to match the template profile. It sounds easy, is it? Before I actually put the template slot in here, I'm just going to put this on the chuck and I'm going to mark out some radial lines using the indexing, which is give me a guide as to where I will eventually cut the pieces out from. Just go around and do that. Right, well that's the potential cutting points marked out. I've probably been completely stupid and I've got them marked out before I'm going to turn most of it away. Hey ho, it's all an experiment. Seemed like a good idea at the time, but of course most of that is now going to be removed. Oh dear. Right, so I've marked out the length of the gingerbread man and about 4mm width, and I'm going to take that out on the bandsaw. Okay, so I've just popped this on the screw chuck with a little spacing block so that I can figure out how to get this in. And the fact that this is wider, I think I'm going to have to turn some of this down so that it's to make it easier for me to glue it in place, so it's just the width of the actual item. That's okay. This is all an experiment. It's not easy to get this to actually stay in the position you want it to, because it's just sort of moving around. I'm not sure if there's a better way of doing it. I've got the head at the bottom. I mean, if I put the foot at the bottom, then that would be stable, but you can't possibly turn that inside. So I'm hoping by doing that it'd be possible to turn it. So I'm just going to have to hope for the best and see if I can get it in straight. Anyway, I'm going to spray it with a bit of water and put some Gorilla Glue in and hopefully glue it up. Okay, well I've glued it in, and as you can see the Gorilla Glue has swelled out around it, but it is firmly glued in, so I'm now going to try and start matching the profile. The black edge of the insert is not as visible as I'd hoped, so you have to keep stopping it regularly to see how close you are getting. And you can see there you just start kissing the ply and the black disappears. Does take a lot of fiddling to get this though. So I'm now going to do the outside and go down to the arms and the legs. So I just thought I'd mark on the high spots so I've got an idea of where I'm going to. I've also, as you've seen, got the template on the bench to actually keep an eye on. Probably could have made a, what's the word, I don't know, negative template that I could have had in hand to offer it up so that I can hold that close to the wood and match it to that profile as well, maybe next time. After many stops and many checks to make sure I wasn't overcutting, finally got close to the profile, although I did find it a little difficult to get the spindle gouge right in, and realise now that the tenon is too big because I can't get right down to the base of the piece, so I've now got to reduce the tenon in size to make sure I can actually rechuck it to turn the other side. So at this point I'm trying to get round the top of the head and trying to go into about the halfway point so that when I turn the other side the donut will part off. Unfortunately there were some knots on the wood which was knocking the spindle gouge, making it a little unpleasant to do the turning. So with it quite firmly gripped on the new smaller tenon, just now repeat the exercise on the outside, perhaps with a little more confidence this time, but the ash being hard doesn't help matters. So excavating this side I found it easier to use the pointy carbide. and that's actually making it easier to get in, to get rid of the bulk of the material, and then swap over to the spindle gouge when I need to do a sweeping action. Now that I'm pretty sure I'm not going to need to re-chuck it, I need to get rid of the centre core, because I can't get right down to finish off the head. Getting right in the last few cuts to get the profile of the head is proving the gingerbread man's head is proving the most tricky. So at this point I'm almost at the halfway point. In fact, I think I probably had to go a bit beyond the halfway point, because I think the first one was not quite the halfway. So using a pointy carbide, I'm just going to go in and try to cut off at the top of the head so that the donut comes free. In slow-mo, that looks more exciting than it actually was. It was quite a safe part off.
So I had to go well over the halfway. I was too cautious the first half. And then I've got all these knots, which made it hard work.
So time to trim up the inside using the Ryobi 1 Plus battery powered 18 volt rotary tool thing, which is very convenient, very easy, because you can just put the body onto the lathe bed and it's got plenty of power to actually do the braiding and sanding.
Okay, so I've got some of these Axminster barrel jaws on. I'm just going to pop this on and stand it out a little bit and just do a little bit of sanding, because I forgot to do that. More by luck than judgment. That's sort of vaguely okay. Turn it down, spin it up. Not wonderful, but probably do for the sand.
Right, I'm just going to mark it up now on the index, just to try to get an idea of where the cuts might be. Okay, that's all marked up. Do the first cut. Well, I'm not sure I'd call that a resounding success. It looks a bit like a gingerbread man. Not sure it was worth the effort. Nah. I think I'll let the Ore Mountain people do this German ring turning. There's a lot of faff. You've got to really know what you're doing, I think. So there we have the finished ring and a poorly decorated gingerbread man. I think I'd be more pleased if I'd managed to cut in more at the neck to make the head a bit more round. I suppose the advantage of doing this is that you do it once, and then if you cut them up, you've got 36 gingerbread man, drill a hole through the head, hang them on the tree. So it is really a simple mass production technique. If I did another one, I think I probably would have a negative template to hand to help me profile it on the outside. And also I'd choose a piece of wood that's not quite so hard and got the knots inside, which made the turning a bit tedious and a bit boring. Might do another one, don't know. Ask me in 12 months' time.